Good evening.
Headlines is sponsored by Wonder Cement. एक perfect शुरुआत.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of DD India. Budget session of Parliament begins on Friday. President to address the joint session. Economic survey to be presented. Government and Lok Sabha Speaker hold separate all-party meetings. Prime Minister says government is ready to discuss any issues and listen to the opposition views. Over 1,500 NDFB militants surrender in Assam to join the mainstream. Prime Minister welcomes move, says surrender strengthens integrity of Assam, sends a clear message that solution to any issue is possible when path of violence is shunned. Campaigning for Delhi Assembly polls gains momentum. Amit Shah and JP Nadda hold rallies. Target Kejriwal government for not meeting electoral promises. Kejriwal also holds a roadshow. Election Commission to review poll preparations at two separate meetings on Friday. Home Minister Amit Shah says government will not tolerate incidents like the JAMIA firing incident in Delhi. Culprit will not be spared and the orders police commissioner to take strict action. Another big decision for Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir administration rationalizes reservation for SC/ST and other weaker sections in jobs and higher education. Delhi toll in China from coronavirus reaches 170. First sample positive in India confirmed in Kerala. Centre in touch with states, reviewing situation continuously. Ministry of External Affairs in contact with Indians in Wuhan. Novak Djokovic storms into final of Australian Open, beats Roger Federer in semi-finals. Gabion Muguruza reaches women's final.
Headlines was sponsored by Wonder Cement. एक perfect शुरुआत.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the government is open for discussion on all issues in the budget session of Parliament. He was addressing the all-party meeting on the eve of budget session, which begins on Friday. The Prime Minister welcomed suggestions that the session should focus on the prevailing economic situation in the country. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla also convened all-party meeting and sought support of different political parties for the smooth conduct of the House. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu will hold an all-party meeting on Friday.
On the eve of the budget session of Parliament that begins on Friday, hectic parleys were held at all levels to ensure smooth functioning in the House. In both the all-party meet called by the government, which was held during the day, as well as in the evening meeting that was called by Speaker Om Birla, focuses on strategies for a fruitful budget session. The all-party meet called by the government was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi, leaders of the Congress, TMC, LJP, Samajwadi Party, BJD, DMK, RSP and the left. Prime Minister Modi said that the government is ready to listen to the opposition and is open to discuss all issues.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री कंक्लूडिंग रिमार्क में नए वर्ष का बधाई देते हुए उन्होंने कहा ये सत्र ही बजट सत्र है, इसलिए जिन मुद्दों ने इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशन हो, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा सिर्फ चर्चा नहीं समृद्ध चर्चा होना चाहिए और उस स्ट्रक्चर्ड डिबेट हम चाहते हैं. सभी मुद्दों पर हम चर्चा करने के लिए भी तैयार हैं.
The PM welcomed the suggestions of the members that the session should focus on prevailing economic situation in the country. He urged members to see how the country can gain from the prevailing global economic scenario. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi said 45 bills are likely to come up during the budget session, 7 of which were related to financial matters, while 2 would be ordinances. The opposition raised issues like CAA, NPR, NRC, the economy, Kashmir and said that these issues should come up for discussion. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister said that the opposition should introspect because CAA had been passed in Parliament using democratic means.
पार्लियामेंट में जहां सरकार उत्सुक है कानून बनाने में, वहां विपक्ष चाहेगा इन तमाम मुद्दों पर चर्चा होनी चाहिए, डिस्कशन होना चाहिए, इनका समाधान होना चाहिए और सरकार को संवेदनशील होना चाहिए इन तमाम मुद्दों में।
This bill is being passed most democratically after discussion more than 13-14 hours. स्वयं प्रधानमंत्री भाषण पब्लिक मीटिंग में ऐलान किया है। हमारे बहुत सीनियर मंत्री अमित शाह जी हो, राजनाथ सिंह जी हो, नितिन गडकरी जी हो और हम सब कैबिनेट मंत्री, हमने ये बहुत स्पष्ट शब्द में कहा है कि ये सीएए किसी का नागरिकता छीने का नहीं है, ये नागरिकता कई लोगों को देने का है। ऐसे सड़कों पे रहने का जरूरत ही नहीं है, ये तो मैं अपील करता हूँ।
The evening saw an all-party meeting called by the Speaker unfold, wherein he appealed to all parties to cooperate for the smooth functioning of the House.
इस सत्र के अंदर सभी दलों के नेताओं ने आश्वस्त किया है कि सदन बिना व्यवधान के चले, बिना बाधित चले। सदन जनता के प्रति उत्तरदायित्व रहे, इसलिए सदन की कार्रवाई चलना चाहिए। सदन में सबको पर्याप्त समय और अवसर हर विषय पर बोलने का दिया जाएगा।
The first phase of the budget session will begin with President Ramnath Kovind's address to a joint session of both houses on Friday and will continue till the 11th of February. The economic survey will also be tabled on Friday and the budget will be presented on Saturday. A month later, the rest of the budget session will begin on the 2nd of March and conclude on the 3rd of April. The House will have 39 sittings in the session in all. With Shailendra Mishra in Delhi, DD India.
In Assam, 1,615 cadres of all the four factions of the National Democratic Front of Bodoland laid down arms before Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal in Guwahati on Thursday. They include 836 cadres from the two factions of Progressive, 579 cadres of Ranjan Dhamari group and 200 members of the Soraingwara faction. Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal said that if provided that NDFB wants permanent peace in the state. He thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Home Minister Amit Shah for the treaty.
Over 1,500 cadres of the all four factions of the National Democratic Front of Bodoland laying down arms in Guwahati in the presence of Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal and Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma. They belong to the factions who signed a peace treaty, the Bodo Accord, with the government on Monday.
We have signed an historic accord on 27 January 2020 and today we are laying down our weapons. And it is a historic day, and we expect that a new beginning of peace and unity, harmony and development will.
आज एक ऐतिहासिक दिन है। हम आशा करते हैं कॉन्फ्लिक्ट का जो हिस्ट्री है, इतिहास है, वो उसका एक इम्पोर्टेंट डे में ये खत्म हो रहा है।
This was the second surrender ceremony in the state this month. The Assam government has assured that the new treaty would not hamper the interests of the non-Bodo people staying in the Bodoland Territorial Council area. Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal thanked Prime Minister for this accord.
आज इस अवसर पर असम की जनता की तरफ से देश के हमारे आदर्शवादी नेता प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को और गृह मंत्री अमित शाह जी को आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं। उन लोगों ने हमें जो मदद किया और उनकी दिल में असम के लिए जो सद्भावना बसा हुआ है, वो चाहते हैं कि असम प्रगति करे, असम आगे बढ़े, नॉर्थ ईस्ट आगे बढ़े।
असम का भौगोलिक अखंडता, टेरिटोरियल इंटीग्रिटी का साथ, मैक्सिमम डिवोल्यूशन ऑफ पावर का साथ, बोडोलैंड में मैक्सिमम डिवोल्यूशन ऑफ पावर का साथ आज ये शांति चुक्ति मोदी जी और अमित शाह जी ने समापन किया।
Hailing the move, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to Twitter. In a series of tweets, he said, and I quote, "As India remembers Pujya Bapu on his Punya Tithi, Assam is witnessing a historic chapter for peace and development. After a wait of 50 years, an agreement with our Bodo friends heralds a new beginning. It will strengthen Assam's unity, bring development and usher in a bright future." After signing this historic agreement with Bodo organizations, foremost priority of our government is development of Bodo areas. Work has begun on a comprehensive 1,500 crore rupees package. A special focus will be on ease of living and ensuring that Boros benefit fully from government schemes. Boro friends joining us on the path of peace send a clear message that the solution to issues is possible when we leave the path of violence and repose faith in democracy and the constitution. I welcome my Boro friends to the mainstream. The accord between the Boro groups and the government will strengthen unity and integrity of Assam. The accord with our Boro friends is a message to Assam and other violence-affected parts of the country. The nation's development can be given momentum only in an environment free of violence and fear. The accord with our Boro friends was made while protecting the interests of other communities of Assam. It is inspired by the mantra of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and Sabka Vishwas and by the spirit of Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat. The central government, state government, Bodoland Territorial Council, All Boro Students Union, Gobinda Basumatari faction, Dhirendra Boro faction, Ranjan Doimari faction and Sauraigura faction of the NDFB and the United Boro People's Organization are party to the 2020 agreement. The demand for a separate Bodoland is more than 50 years old and has resulted in extensive violence and the loss of hundreds of lives. Over the years, the agreement of 2020 is the culmination of extensive negotiations and discussions held by the government. It brings together various stakeholders in the Bodoland movement, including both the armed groups and civil society groups. The 1993 and 2003 Boro agreements were not able to find a lasting solution to the Bodoland issue. With Duina Burwa in Guwahati, DD India.
Campaigning for Delhi Assembly post has gained momentum. Senior BJP leader Amit Shah and the party president JP Nadda held rallies targeting the Kejriwal government for not meeting his electoral promises. Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal held roadshows at a number of places in the capital. The Election Commission will review poll preparedness and the two separate meetings on Friday.
As campaigning for the Delhi elections reaches a crescendo, leaders of political parties were seen in full campaign mode, going all out to woo voters. BJP's Amit Shah was in Chhatarpur on Thursday and in his address at a rally slammed the Aam Aadmi Party government for making false promises. He pointed out that while on the one hand there was a decisive Prime Minister like PM Modi who carried out the surgical and air strikes against Pakistan, there were others who supported the Shaheen Bagh protests.
8 तारीख को आपको तय करना है कि दो जो ताकतें आमने सामने खड़ी है, एक और नरेंद्र मोदी जी है जो सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक और एयर स्ट्राइक कर पाकिस्तान के घर में घुसकर आतंकवादियों का सफाया करते हैं, और दूसरी ओर वो लोग जो है जो शाहीन बाग का समर्थन कर रहे हैं.
Party chief JP Nadda was in Nangloi garnering votes as he slammed both the Congress and AAP at a rally.
विषय ये नहीं है कि आप शकुंतला जी को चुनाव जिता रहे हैं, विषय ये नहीं है कि आपने हंसराज जी को जिताया है, विषय ये है कि दिल्ली किसके हाथ में सुरक्षित है.
As for other parties in the fray, Arvind Kejriwal of the AAP held roadshows at a number of places. He said that much had been achieved in the past 5 years despite the many personal attacks launched against him by his rivals.
मैंने पिछले 5 साल में दिल्ली वालों का बेटा बनके उनके परिवार की जिम्मेदारी उठाने की कोशिश की है. आज मैं ये निर्णय दिल्ली के लोगों के ऊपर छोड़ता हूं कि वो मुझे बेटा मानते हैं, मुझे अपना भाई मानते हैं, कि वो मुझे आतंकवादी मानते हैं.
The Congress too is busy campaigning, its leaders taking out roadshows and holding nukkar sabhas. The Election Commission on its part, meanwhile, has banned BJP's Anurag Thakur for 3 days and BJP MP Pravesh Verma for 4 days from election campaigning for the controversial and inflammatory remarks. According to the EC directive, Thakur is banned from campaigning from the 30th of January, 5 p.m. for the next 72 hours and Verma from the same date for the next 96 hours. A BJP delegation, which included Union Ministers Harshvardhan and Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, accused the AAP of sponsoring anti-CAA protests, including the one at Shaheen Bagh, and urged the Election Commission to include expenses incurred on them in the expenditure of AAP candidates.
हमने चुनाव आयोग के समक्ष आप पार्टी के नेता श्री मनीष सिसोदिया के बयान, आप पार्टी के अन्य नेताओं के बयान आप पार्टी के विधायक और दिल्ली वक्फ बोर्ड के अध्यक्ष श्री अमानुल्लाह खान के बयान और उनके भाषणों की सीडी आज इलेक्शन कमीशन को दी है, जिसमें उन्होंने शाहीन बाग के धरने का न केवल समर्थन किया है, उन्होंने कहा है कि ये धरना शाहीन बाग को हमारा समर्थन है और हम इसका आयोजन करने वाले हैं।
The Election Commission has issued a show-cause notice to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal for promising to set up mohalla clinics on court premises in the city at a time when the model code of conduct is in place. He has been asked to respond before 5 p.m. on Friday.
3 FIRs under DPDP Act, defacement, have been registered against independents and others. Non-political, of course, 415 FIRs. Total FIRs 448. This is basically under the defacement and model code. So model code related.
Elections to the Delhi Assembly will be held on the 8th of February, while counting will be held on the 11th. With Anuj Yadav and Dheeraj Kumar, DD India.
In Uttar Pradesh, around 20 children are being held hostage at a house in a village of Farrukhabad. Subhash Badham, a murder convict who was out on the bail, had invited children for a birthday party and held them hostage. He also opened fire from inside the house. Uttar Pradesh ADC Law and Order PV Rama Shastri said that the commandos have cordoned off the house in the village. He said police are ensuring their safety.
स्थिति की गंभीरता को और डेलिकेसी को देखते हुए सीनियर ऑफिसर को भी खबर किया गया और इसके जल्द बाद डीएम एसपी दोनों पहुंच गए। वहां पर पूरे टीम के साथ लगातार प्रयासरत हैं कि बच्चों को जल्दी छुड़वा दें।
Home Minister Amit Shah has directed Delhi Police Commissioner Amulya Patnaik to take the stringent action in the case of a man firing a pistol at protesters near the JAMIA Millia Islamia University. Shah said the case will be investigated by Special Commissioner of Delhi Police Praveer Ranjan. The Home Minister said that the central government will not tolerate such incidents and the guilty will not be spared. Jammu and Kashmir Administrative Council on Thursday granted 4% reservation to Pahari-speaking people in direct recruitment and admission and distribution of seats in professional institutions at the postgraduate level. The decision is taken to rationalize the existing reservation policy after the erstwhile state's special status was abrogated and it was bifurcated into union territories on August 5 last year. There are around 9.6 lakh Pahari-speaking people across Jammu and Kashmir. As per the existing reservation rules, the percentage of reservation in direct recruitment is 8% to scheduled caste, 10% to scheduled tribes, 2% to weaker and underprivileged classes, 3% to residents of areas adjoining the line of actual control or international border, and 20% to residents of backward areas. There is also a horizontal reservation of 6% available to ex-servicemen and 3% to physically challenged persons. The first sample positive in India has been confirmed in Kerala for the Wuhan coronavirus. Centre is in touch with the states and is reviewing situation constantly. Ministry of External Affairs is in contact with the Indians in Wuhan. Death toll in China from the coronavirus has reached 170. The first confirmed case of novel coronavirus in India has been reported from Kerala on Thursday. The patient is a student studying in Wuhan University and is stable. Union Health Minister Harsh Vardhan said that all the arrangements are already in place to deal with the virus.
We are already doing our best. It's not that we are waiting for the case to come. We are already putting all the best efforts to ensure that we do our best to, number one, diagnose, and then of course if there is anything like a positive case, we treat it also.
Kerala Health Minister K.K. Shailja in a media briefing confirmed that 20 samples had been sent for test, out of which one was found to be positive. She said all arrangements will be made to provide maximum medical facilities and care to the patients.
In Trishur General Hospital, we isolated 4 suspected people there. and one of them become positive. We are arranging again the RRT meeting and other thing. We have already formed the control cells in state level and also district level.
Cabinet Secretary reviewed the preparedness on novel coronavirus with the concerned ministries. He also held a video conference with the Chief Secretaries of the state and UTs on the preparedness of the state. All those who have come from China after 15th January 2020 shall be tested, as there is an incubation period for the virus. The government has issued advisories to refrain from travel to China. Meanwhile, efforts are also on to bring back Indian nationals from Wuhan. MEA spokesman Ravish Kumar said the Indian embassy in Beijing is in touch with Chinese authorities and have requested permission for 2 aircraft to bring back Indian nationals from Hubei province. Only those who are absolutely fit will be brought back to India. Those brought back will be kept in quarantine for 2 weeks as a precaution.
You must have seen our request to operate 2 aircrafts to China to bring back the Indian nationals who are in Hubei province. A formal request has been made. We are now waiting for a formal approval from the Chinese side before we can start the process.
हम लोगों ने 6 और लैब ऐड किए हैं जो कि नोवेल कोरोना वायरस की जांच करने में सक्षम हैं। जहां तक NIV पुणे का सवाल है, उसमें 5000 सैंपल्स को टेस्ट करने की क्षमता है और हमारे जो नए लैब ऐड हो रहे हैं उससे क्षमता और बढ़ जाएगी।
In an advisory, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has given information to protect yourself and your family. If you have recently travelled to China or had possible contact with a novel coronavirus infected person, it is a Smriti on T's January to mark the solemn day. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla were among the dignitaries who attended the meeting. Tributes were paid to Babu throughout the day.
The nation led by President Kovind, Vice President Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi bowed its head to the father of the nation on his 72nd death anniversary. The day began with leaders offering floral tributes at Gandhi's Memorial Rajghat, where an interfaith prayer meeting was held. Amidst echoes of Gandhi's favourite bhajan Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh were among those who paid homage at Rajghat. Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and the 3 service chiefs, Admiral Sunil Lamba, Air Chief Marshal Rakesh Kumar Singh Bhadoria and General Manoj Mukund Narawane were also present. President Ramnath Kovind tweeted, "On Martyrs' Day, paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat. Bapu's teachings are still relevant and he continues to be our guiding light. We gratefully remember the enormous valor and sacrifices of millions of freedom fighters who gave their all for our independence." Later in the day, an all-faith prayer meeting was held at Gandhi Smriti. Interacting with NSS volunteers who participated in the Republic Day Parade camp, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu appealed to youth to stay away from those encouraging violence and said that those instigating violence were working against the interests of the nation. Remembering Mahatma Gandhi, he suggested that National Service Scheme should be re-christened as National Selfless Service. Vice President shared Bapu's credo of service before self with the volunteers.
By participating in voluntary service activities such as NSS, you are trying to realize the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi, who had said the best way to find oneself is to lose oneself in the service of others. This is what Gandhiji has said.
Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated on 30th January 1948 in the compound of Birla House, now known as Gandhi Smriti. He was heading for his evening prayers when he was shot at by Nathuram Godse. DD India.
Novak Djokovic moved a step closer to retaining the Australian Open title with a straight-set semi-final win over injury-hit rival Roger Federer. Serbia's Djokovic was 4-1 down in the opening set before recovering to win the tie-break. That laid the platform for the second seed to go on and to win 7-6, 6-4, 6-3. Djokovic, aiming for 17th Grand Slam title, will face the Dominic Thiem on Alexander Zverev in Sunday's final. Budget session of Parliament begins on Friday.
Headlines is sponsored by Wonder Cement. एक perfect शुरुआत.
कहाँ निपल गिरा please? Budget session of Parliament begins on Friday. President to address the joint session, economic survey to be presented. Government and Lok Sabha Speaker hold separate all-party meetings. Prime Minister says government is ready to discuss any issue and listen to the opposition views. Over 1,500 NDFB militants surrendered in Assam to join the mainstream. Prime Minister welcomes move, says surrender strengthens integrity of Assam, sends a clear message that solution to any issue is problem when path of violence is shunned. Campaigning for Delhi Assembly polls gains momentum. Amit Shah and JP Nadda hold rallies, target Kejriwal government for not meeting electoral promises. Kejriwal also holds roadshow election commission to review the poll preparedness at the two separate meetings on Friday. Home Minister Amit Shah says government will not tolerate incidents like the JAMIA firing incident in Delhi. Culprit will not be spared. Orders Police Commissioner to take strict action. Another big decision for Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir administration rationalizes reservation for SC/ST and other weaker sections in jobs and higher education. Death toll in China from coronavirus reaches 170. First sample positive in India confirmed in Kerala. Center in touch with states, reviewing situation continuously. Ministry of External Affairs in contact with Indians in Wuhan. Novak Djokovic storms into final of Australian Open, beats Roger Federer in semi-finals. Garbine Muguruza reaches women's final.
Headlines was sponsored by Wonder Cement. एक perfect शुरुआत.
And that was all in this edition, but stay tuned to be at DD India. Namaskar.